There we go. Welcome, welcome. Okay, it's saying we're going live, so it must be right now. Welcome everybody to the Facebook Live series, Empowered Women, Empowering Women. Sabrina Maurice here, so kia ora from down under in New Zealand, and I'm excited to introduce you to Miss Chalese Stevens. She's a mom of how many? Three? Yep, three. And went through probably one of every mother's worst nightmare, and I'll let her tell that side of the story, but then came out a conqueror, and being able to guide and support other women, families in their grieving process, and even best-selling author of Finding 40, A Mother's Walk with Grief. So I'm going to hand it over to you and you can tell us a little bit more about your backstory, and then we'll just go back and forth.
Right. Well, on 17 years ago this year, wow. In 2000, I mean, I can't even believe it. It's crazy that it's been 17 years almost, but my 4-year-old son drowned at a water park. And yes, it changed my life. I mean, I was a single mom at the time. And so, just getting by at that point, and then to lose everything, that was just, that it definitely sent me into a tailspin. And I, from that moment on, had to really figure out and find my way back to some kind of, I mean, I can't say a new normal, because it's not, I don't know, that just seems so simple to say that. And it definitely
it's not simple. Yeah. You and I had the privilege of reading your book and being able to Marco Polo you while I was reading it, which it was a really cool experience to read a book and have access to the author as I was reading it. And being able to I was sobbing and being like, oh my gosh. It was just, I know in reading it, it's this is a story, but this is your real life. And that tragedy, it was just the way you wrote made it, just made it feel like I was there in that moment. And my heart grew 10 times more for you. And I was already I loved you so much, but then I was like, oh my gosh, this woman and all the things you went through afterwards, and the trials and the struggles that I, for one, completely understand you having gone through. A lot of people probably wouldn't have made it through that regardless, and you've made it on the other side, and now you're sitting on this other side where you're giving that light and that hope to other women and families that are going through very similar things. So it's been cool.
Well, when it first happened, the reason why I decided to write the book, I mean, I love writing, so I knew that I had to write, but I was given all these grief books, and being given a grief book when you're going through something that's going to tell you how you're going to grieve, basically, I was interested in at all. That's not what someone that could to me. But even on that scale, I knew that my grief was mine and it couldn't be anyone else's. And that's what I write a lot about in the book. I put my poems in it. I put my and just when I was writing, when I finally could start writing again, that was my intention with everything that I wrote, was one day this is going to be a book, and this is going to help somebody get through something.
Yeah. And I haven't gone through the same loss, but while I was reading it, there were so many different lessons that I was able to take from it and apply to my life, because I have experienced grief in different degrees, and just seeing, giving yourself grace for not, for not being perfect through it all. It's a perfectly imperfect journey for all of us and for you, and just giving myself that same grace of I've been through some seriously heavy stuff and I've made it out. And now what are we going to do with where we're at now? Because there's still people in those trenches. So
yes, you are absolutely right. And that's why one of the reasons why with my podcast, it took Susan, my friend that's doing this with me, it took us 3 years to decide to finally do this podcast.
Yay.
Because it was more for her. I'd already been telling my it, and that's who I am. But
Mhm.
with her, she would talk to me about her grief. She would
Right.
talk to very select few people, and she wasn't at that point where she was ready to share her story. And actually, it's kind of fun because this Tuesday I'm putting together some of the clips that we did from 3 years ago from, and
Uh,
this is what we've been wanting to do for so long, and now we're finally doing it. And it's just, but we're doing it because especially now with COVID and 2020 behind us, but we're still facing so much trauma. And a lot of people are even struggling with PTSD and things like that from like
mhm.
many reasons for what has happened. And we're like, it's time right now to
Yeah.
start talking. I'm not going to just talk about the easy stuff that everyone, oh yeah, I lost my son. I mean, that's not an easy thing to say, but you can say that. We're going to get deep and talk about, want to talk about, because they either feel shamed for talking about, feel guilty, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I thought that, or said that, like just things that go through our minds as we're in those trenches. And even now, almost things I still think, things I still feel. And it's a never ending journey. It's a never ending process. And it's not something that you just get over. And you never get over it. Like you just continue, no
Yeah.
matter what period you are. Like loss is loss, and no same club, because we all experience it individually, but knowing that people feel the same things on different levels, it's healing, and it does give hope.
Yes. And I think the point too is that like, people think that, okay, if I'm going to get to destination healed, like, and then everything's going to be okay. And what the reality is it's like forever a work in progress. And the whole experience is the journey. And if you stop living in the now for the hope that one day you'll reach this destination healed, you're never going to really live. And so your invitation is start living, start being, and doing what you can to make a difference in the world now, and grieve and heal in the process, right?
Because living today and living in the moment and making those memories, that is healing, and that is a part of grief. Like, and that, because you give yourself hope that, well, and that's even something that's crazy to think about too, because there's a lot of times when you're like, I'm actually having a good day today, and then you feel guilty for having a good day because I'm still
Mhm.
supposed to, and it's like, or I'm laughing about this or I make terrible jokes sometimes that should be allowed, and I'm like, I mean, it's and I'm like that, and people look at me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just came out of your face, like
I can't believe that came out of your face. You know what it is? It's called survivor's remorse. It's like, well, wait, why am I here? What am I, and people have one of two ways. Well, I'm sure there's multiple ways to go, but like one is they completely shut down and there's no more life existing, or they go the opposite and they're going to live so hard that every moment is going to be worth living. And for me personally, I've gone down the route of like, I'm just going to shut down all production and like not live. And like it's really depressing there. And it is one way to do it, but my invitation for everybody watching is like, you don't have to do it that way. You can give yourself that period of time, but at some point you've got to let yourself get to the place where you're like, I'm going to make every single moment of my life worth it, and be that just be guided by the lesson rather than hindered by it, right? So yeah. And yeah.
That it is just like, I'll find myself in a fetal position still sometimes, just stop and missing my baby, and I'm like, at this point he'd be 20, and he would be like, mom, like I'm already gone. So I also, you're like, okay, he actually wouldn't be here, but since I've only gotten to experience those life, growth moments, vicariously through other people and in my mind, he's still a little 4-year-old boy sometimes to me.
Yeah.
And celebrate one of my other things that I do is my nonprofit. And so we have these awesome fundraising events or moments, and, all my kids, and I call them my kids, and, all my heart around and like give me loves, and I see their faces and I see how happy their parents are. And then when I go home, a lot of by myself and it's quiet, that's when it hits me. And I'm like, I know why I'm doing this. And I get to grieve my loss for a moment again, even celebrate their excitement and their life and their memories that they got to make. And I got to make them with them and be a part of it. And I feel my son around me whenever that happens. But again, I detach from it and I'm like, oh, it gets really heavy sometimes.
Yeah. And I love that your heart is so big that despite the pain that can come with it, you just are like, I know that I'm meant to be doing this. And you're serving on such a high level with with your nonprofit organization. What is the name of it? And what exactly is it that you do within that for people, for kids?
Oh, Rainy Days Foundation is the name of it.
Yeah.
We help kids with congenital heart disease and their families. And a lot of the focus is on the moms, and because they're the ones that we have this little group chat that we do. And they're the ones that a lot of the times, while, the dads are there and they're helping and they're providing, but a lot of times it's the moms that are in the hospital. And I'm all about women empowerment and helping women and I love the dads. They're awesome. And you connect with those women on that level, on that heart level and soul level. And so anyway, what we help these kids get a little bit of normalcy in their life. We celebrate their life. And we have some of the angel kids. So if, one of the kids passes away or have lost, one of the moms have lost it, we bring her in and still make her feel like there's that community support. So that's what we do. Like we're a community, and we just love them. Like I'm so excited because we have a zoo day coming up on May 15th, and we're going, and families there and whoever else wants to come and, be a part of that day for Rainy Days. It's going to be really fun. And all the families are really excited because they haven't been able to see each other for so long. And that's another reason why we do it. That, they're friends and their family in the hospital, and they're spend, day in and day out together.
Yeah.
And then they're alone. Yeah. And my goal with Rainy Days is just to help them feel that love and support. And the reason why I help kids with congenital heart disease is because when my son passed away, he donated his heart valves to save another child.
Wow.
And I dealt with that. And I've always helped kids and people in the hospital. Like that's just been my thing, like my calling, I guess you could say. But family, I just kept meeting more and more children that are getting heart, transplants or and I'm all about love and the heart. And so I'm like, this is where I belong. And we just bonded, and they go through a loss too. Their children aren't what children, what you dream of after you have this baby. You go home and you get to love on this baby, but a lot of that. Obviously, if they're there, they don't get that ever. They're always worried about sickness. They're always worried. What we're doing in quarantine, that's their life.
Wow. So what you're doing is I want to acknowledge like what a beautiful gift it is that you, your son was able to donate. And then not only did you do that, but then you like continued. It's like your life's mission. And it's so beautiful that like you've been able to organize it in a way that people can be served and have a community of, because I think right now, especially in the world, that's what we need most is that community, especially during the time where it's like this, no, separate, no, don't connect. It's like, no, actually we need to be coming together, uniting and being connected and supporting one another. So I love that you're doing that. And so is there a way for people, if they're interested and able to donate to Rainy Days, like do you have a PayPal or event, like what do you have set up for that, or a website that they can go to?
www.rainydaysfoundation.com, and there's a donate button on that. And we take donations on Facebook. You can donate on Facebook. If you go to our Facebook page, Rainy Days Foundation, you can donate there as well.
Okay, beautiful. And the name of your podcast?
The name of our podcast is Keeping It Real, REEL, with Susan and Chalese. Just the play on words, because it's fun, and we're making a show.
Yeah, I love it. And I've watched one listened to one, and like, were you doing lives? You were doing lives at one point, right? Like this? Yeah. And I just love your guys' energy. Like Susan's just got this beautiful big heart. Actually, I may ask her if she wants to pop on here and share too. But yeah, I just love your guys' energy. You guys have been friends for a while. And so it's great that even though you both went through these really painful experiences, you were able to find such beautiful people for each other to like be held and hold. Speaking of which, I want to give a shout out to, I believe her name's Rose.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to give a special shout out to Rose. So yeah, that she was there for you through all of those years in that journey. Like I get teary-eyed even thinking about her, because if you guys seriously read this book, and even if you haven't experienced loss, like there's so many lessons in there, and Rose is like an angel. And I know that she's probably still your guardian angel now. So
Now my angel, but she was angel. She went through so much with me, and then I got to help her through so much as well. And then when she passed away, it was devastating. I mean, it was probably, hands down, the second hardest loss I've ever experienced. I mean, obviously my son is the first, but losing my best friend, my sister, my mom, all in one, and and I lost that. And she was one of my last connections to, I mean, obviously I still have all my connections, but right. Through all of this and losing that was like, okay, it's another layer of loss that I now have to figure out how to get there. Yeah. So now
yeah, but Rose, you guys, when you read the book, it seriously, you fall in love with Rose too. Like, and I never met her, never will, but I could feel her while I was reading your story. Okay, so what 3 tips do you have for women, especially if they're going through a grief of any kind, really? But what are your top 3 tips that helped you the most?
So I would say, I mean, it's again is probably the first one. It's going to be different for every single, even if it's the same person, every single going to go their and their own process, and whatever it is, it's okay. And if in my story, like it's not like I jumped right into healing. And so I definitely say, like, take your time, feel those feels, and whatever your process is, it's yours, and that's okay. So that would be help people. Okay. I would say, and this is a hard one because nobody wants to hear this, but honestly, it's a never ending journey. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be, it's always going to evolve. It's always going to transform, but it's just like life. I mean, you continue on through life, you continue to grow, you continue to change, and that is there. But when you're grieving, it will evolve and change, and you'll go through hard times again, and you'll be like, I don't know why this is happening, and then you're going to realize, like, oh my gosh, it's because his an anniversary is coming up, and I'm feeling energy. So I mean, it evolves, and you get used to them not being in your life physically. Yeah. But because that's just, it becomes your, like I said, a new normal. It sounds so weird, but it's just one of those things. And so then the third that I would say is just embrace you and honor you, and have that love for yourself, and be gentle and tender and loving towards yourself, and know that it's so important to take that time for you. And when you're grieving someone that you love and you lost, it's okay to just step back and say, I need this for me now.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that is really, that's the thing that surrounds me most. And that's why I do the community. That's why, like, the people that I allow to come in is because sometimes that's what we need. Like, sometimes we need to be alone, and sometimes we need to be, and we always get to be picky on who we're going to allow into our circle and say, you know what, I love you, but I don't want to be around you right now. And you don't have to say it like that, but whatever, or say it like that.
Yeah. It's about honoring your boundaries and knowing
Absolutely.
what your boundaries are, for sure. I agree. Beautiful. Okay. So the first one is it's going to be different for each person. Your journey of healing is unique and it's okay. And then number 2, it's never going away. It'll evolve and transform, but the journey of healing won't end. And then number 3 is be gentle and tender towards yourself. Those are such beautiful tips for a whole life, really, but definitely when it comes to grieving. So thank you so much. I want to make sure that I covered everything. Your podcast, the Rainy Days Foundation, that's where they can find you. And the podcast, Keeping It Real with Susan and Chalese, is on iTunes, correct? Yep.
Yes, it's on stations and also YouTube.
Beautiful. Okay. Oh, and YouTube. And then the other thing I know that you have going on, which I want to plug because I wish I could come, but I'm all the way across the planet, is your retreat coming up in a few weeks with Miss Holly Hope. She is a phenomenal woman, just a leader in her own right. She's very spiritual, has some really amazing gifts. And I love that you two are teamed up because you have that multifaceted dynamic. So give a little bit of information about what the retreat is and where they can find it. If you wouldn't mind, after dropping the link in your live video, that would be great.
Oh, I would love it. So yes, Holly and I are putting on a retreat. She is magical, and it's a self-love, body love, soul love retreat. And so we're going to hit on all aspects. And this is just the first of many that we're going to do together because we have so much to share that we want. It's so important, and especially since we've been away, and we want to bring people together and have it in person again. And she makes to have different, we're going to do yoga and all the fun, like I'll drop the line, or, the flow, but it's going to be incredible. And really just, it gives you time for you. Yeah. And it's done by women, for women. And we're coming together to heal ourselves and do some deep diving and also play and have fun, because life is about having fun and making memories and playing.
Yes. That's one of the things I love most about you is even though you've been through, like, I think this is why you and I vibrate so good together, is because we've been through some really heavy shit. And then, like, because we've been through that, we just know exactly how we want to live, which is in joy and happiness and laughter. And it's like, yes, that's what life is about, is having fun and playing and not getting stuck in the crap. And so even though you're going to do some of the work at the retreat, it's like, you're going to be having a good time for sure. So yeah, everybody who can make it, you live close enough and I don't, please go. No, please go for me. I'm just playing, but really.
So my website, so I'll drop the link for the event below, but also my website that has all my stuff on it is chalese.com. So just my talks.com, because I like talking.
ChaleseTalks.com. Okay. Yeah. Drop all the links in there. People can check them out and connect with you more. You guys add Chalese on Facebook. She's such an amazing Facebook person to follow. You're so fun to follow. Your energy comes out beautifully, and you really welcome people into your family and your space. So love you so much. And just feel honored that I had the opportunity to have you on. And is there anything else that you want to share before we hop off?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.